The rotary engine, whether it's from drifting to time attack to Le Mans, it is always a great choice to power your car with, and it all may not have been except for the hard work of Mazda. Now, weirdly, our story does not begin in Japan. Instead, it begins in Germany, where an inventor by the name of Felix Henrik Wankel has started to make an invention that will set the whole automotive world ablaze. He dreamed of a simple engine that would be able to operate with as few moving parts as possible. Now weirdly, our story does not begin in Japan. However, it begins in this. Now weirdly, our story does not begin in Japan. Instead, it begins in Germany, where an inventor by the name of Felix Henrik Wankel has started to make an invention that will set the Now weirdly, our story does not begin in Japan. Instead, it begins in Germany, where an inventor by the name of Felix Henrik Wankel has started to make an invention that will set the automotive world ablaze. He dreamed of a simple engine that would be able to operate with as few moving parts as possible. In 1924, he set up a lab to work on his idea. In 1934, he had already received a patent for his invention. Then in 1957, the DKM54 was made. It was the first rotary engine, and it carried a ton of problems, mainly spark plugs, apex seals, complexity, and inefficiency. Despite this, car companies rushed to gain this technology from Wankel. Among those was Mazda. In order to explain why Mazda would take this risk, we have to understand the situation Mazda was in. Nissan had bought Prince and was eyeing Mazda next. Thus, to avoid being bought, they bet it all on the rotary. When you make a gamble like this, you might as well go all in. So Mazda formed a team of Mazda's most dedicated and passionate madmen. They were named the 47 Ronin. During development, they found a slight problem with this rotary thing. Lovingly named the Devil's Nail Marks. Yeah, the engineers were not in the best of moods when they named that. The Devil's Nail Marks were caused by vibrating apex seals that basically allowed the engine to self-destruct. At this point, some people might have realized Mazda had basically bought Core's engine design and given up. However, you weren't a member of the 47 Ronin for being a quitter. You were on the team because you were out of your mind. Eventually, through new composite apex seals and the reworked oil fuel mixtures, solved the chattering. The addition of a few more rotors, they also solved another glaring problem of the rotary engine, low end torque. After all of that blood, sweat, and tears, the first production rotary engine will be unleashed upon the world, the 10A. In the 1960s, Japan created some great classic sport cars meant for the whole world. These include the Nissan Fairlady Z and the Toyota Supra 2000 GT. These cars put Japan on the map, and lurking behind them was Mazda's entry, the Cosmo. Due to the small size of the engine, it broke the mold of other sports cars. In order to hype everybody up, they entered it in the 84 hours of the ring, a grueling race that lasted 3 days on Germany's Nürburgring. Now, this will sound ridiculous to us today, but due to the reliability of the rotary engine, it managed to finish fourth. Sadly, this wasn't enough to sell the Cosmo. However, it still wasn't a failure, as people noticed it, and therefore noticed Mazda. This gave Mazda the confidence it needed to stuff the rotary in every single car. However, it still wasn't a failure, as people noticed it, and therefore noticed Mazda. This gave Mazda the confidence it needed to stuff the rotary into normal production cars. This included the RX3s, RX4s, Group B trucks, and even luxury cars like the Mazda Lux. However, just when everything was looking up, the oil crisis came. This valued the performance of every single car. And some would argue that the rotary came off worse, and some would argue that the rotary came off worse than even the American V8s. This was because even though the engine was tiny, the rotary got absolutely horrible gas mileage. Fearing that they would be left to fade into irrelevance, they relegated the rotary to select few cars on the lineup. This included the RX7 SA. Finally, this is what the rotary was built for: lightweight, balance, and precision. While the FB didn't have enough torque, that didn't matter. The rotary soundtrack covers all of those faults. At this time, Mazda was fighting for its life. However, amazingly, the FB did something all other Mazdas didn't. It sold. Eventually, the time came for the car to be updated. For some reason, Mazda decided that they wanted to take on the Porsche 944 in sophistication. Now, when you think of sophistication, you probably just immediately go to weight. And you're right, the new Mazda RX7 was heavier. However, it's still roundhouse so already. Eventually, the time came for the car to be updated. For some reason, Mazda decided that they wanted to also take on the Porsche 944 in sophistication. It's still alright in the States. However, the Aussies still crave the lightweight, scalpel-like precision of the FB. So down under, you can purchase a limited edition model with every bit that was not essential to keep the car running ripped out. I mean, they even took out the rear wiper blade in an attempt to get that weight down to a minimum. With these improvements, the car started selling again, and Mazda's gamble seemed to be finally paying off. Thanks to the booming 80s, Japanese automakers are packing their cars with more and more technology, such as huge engines, forward steering, and more driving aids than ever. And of course, you need to have the spaceship-like interiors. Mazda had a different idea. Taking advantage of how light the rotary was, Mazda saw the path to greatness with lightness. With the help of twin turbos, differential suspension, and a beautiful design, it was said to take the automotive world by storm. However, it kinda didn't. The amount of screen time the Veilside RX7 got in Tokyo Drift was enormous. However, it still kept getting overshadowed by cars like the GTR, Supra, and even the 3000 GT. After all, in the 90s, sport car buyers expected a bit of luxury to go with the speed, and this made the RX7 obsolete. However, Mazda's efforts were not in vain. The car still sold, and they took it racing once more. Once again, they chose endurance racing. However, this time they decided to go all in and created the 787B, a race car that had 4 rotors which screamed at 11,000 RPM. With this car, they became the first Japanese car company to win at Le Mans. Sadly, this would be the climax of the rotary's potential, as new emissions regulation came around. Mazda wrapped up the RX-8, a truly unworthy and arguably ugly successor, and shelved the rotary. Today, 3 decades later, a group of people never gave up on Mazda's dream. Enthusiasts, the hardened few, who valued the pursuit of speed and emotion more than sanity. The rotary is a culmination of a grand gamble made out of determination, design, and passion, which saved Mazda. The RX-7 is a timeless masterpiece that can and will be found parked among the world's finest cars.